Welcome back to another episode of the Todd Durkin Impact Show. And I hope you're having a fantastic start to your day and having an awesome week. You have a very special episode today. Why? We have 4 guests. Count them, 4 guests. And it's always special to get ready to work with my interns at Fitness Quest 10. They do an awesome job serving Fitness Quest 10, and Ryan Rogers, the leader of the internship program for over a decade, is with us today as well. So you're gonna have questions that I have not been prepped for. These questions, they can ask me any questions, whatever it may be. And I know it's a great group of interns this year. So we've got Larry Hando, who is from Japan. And Larry is a special young man with a deep, deep heart to serve people. And you're going to hear from Larry Hando, Max Jackson, and Ian Casillas. And both of those 2 young men are at San Diego State University, and they're going to be firing away questions on all aspects of life to either Ryan Rogers or myself. So this is going to be a unique episode, a fun episode. Without further ado, let's go to that interview right now. All right, it's time for Internal Quest. Interns, are you ready?
So ready.
Man, this is going to be a fun episode. We've got 3 interns from Fitness Quest 10 this fall here. I always love the internal quests and having the opportunity to connect with them. And the man who oversees this, Ryan Rogers, has been by my side for, Ryan, how long now?
23 years.
23 years. Thought I was only going for like 20 here, but 23 years. Out of our 24 years, Ryan Rogers has been a mainstay at Fitness Quest 10. If you've ever been to Fitness Quest 10, you know Ryan Rogers. He has many roles, and one of the things he does, amongst the many, is he oversees our awesome intern program. Isn't Ryan also, by the way?
The best. Yeah.
All right, good.
I sign off on your grades. So
exactly. They haven't been graded yet. But Ryan, welcome to the show. Always great to have you. Couple words, Ryan, about the interns this fall and how excited you are.
Yeah, well, just the internship in general. It's an awesome opportunity. I get to help level up the next round of fitness professionals. So I love the excitement and the energy they bring, and these guys have been no short of awesome. So just an awesome opportunity I get to speak into their lives, not just in the fitness realm, but also just in life coaching in general. Like, what are they looking at? What is their life purpose and mission? And what is their big why? Why do they want to get into this field and stuff like that? But then also teaching them the nuts and bolts of, how to coach a squat, how to coach a deadlift, like how to just coach in general. What types of things do you want to, instill in your clients and in the people you work with and the lives you're going to change. So.
Well, thank you, Ryan. It is awesome to have you always. And it's time to dive in because we talk about internal quests. We're talking business leadership, personal growth and development, what you guys have got out of the internship program. So, Larry, I'm going to start with you. We got fire away questions, 30 minutes rapid fire. Any questions for myself or Ryan on what you have on your mind?
So, my question is to you, Todd. Yep. So, since I moved I went to the school in Arkansas. And since then I started.
Where are you from?
I'm from Japan.
Japan, guys. He's from Japan.
Mm-hmm. So then I started following motivational speaker. So why you picked up motivational speaker your job?
Why did I pick motivational speaking as my job? Mm-hmm. Or why did motivational speaking pick me? Right? What I would say is this. As someone who's always been a coach and trainer in my adult career life, for the past 25 plus years as a coach and trainer, one of the things I've always loved doing is speaking. I've spent a lot of time working on my craft of being a motivational or keynote speaker in that time. And the more I've done that, the more I've enjoyed it, the more people that I've been able to speak to and with, and the impact that's been created. I find that it's something that really fulfills me. I enjoy it. And I spent more time with it. Heck, even now to the point where we're grooming other speakers, within my brand to do that. So I just find that it's something that, for me, I've been able to impact a lot of people with speaking. Spent a lot of time working on that as well. but it's one part of what I do. It's one thing. Good question, Larry. Good question.
That's a great question.
Max, next question.
All right, this one's for you as well, Todd. So myself, like many of your listeners, are avid podcast listeners.
Okay.
I wanted to know like what it took for you to grow this podcast to where it is now, like from the beginning.
Woo. We're over, as we record this right now live, we're over 395 episodes in over that. And I know we're over 1 million downloads as well, which is pretty awesome. Number one, it takes a team.
Yeah.
Like that was been the biggest hesitation. I think it took me 5 years to actually launch my podcast because I was too afraid of the time commitment it was going to take to actually grow the podcast. But it takes a team. I always said it was going to take 5 to 10 hours. It probably, honestly, with each episode, takes every bit of 10 hours plus between the editing and the writing the show notes and all these things. And people are like, what about AI? I don't AI. I'm old school. I like to feel it, write it, put my heart and soul into it. We got the team, Ruth and April and Chase and Julie. We got 5 people working on this episode right here. We're due. 5 people will work on this. What's it take? It's taken a team. It's taken times when I'm really busy and I can't ever skip an episode. I've never missed an episode. So sometimes it means I'm recording on an airplane. Sometimes it means I'm in a hotel room. When you commit to something, you do it. And if you say you give someone your word, you do it, because we have people on here right now listening that have never missed an episode out of almost 400 or so episodes. They've never missed an episode. Some of our first time listeners, as they come in with over 1 million downloads now. And you know what, honestly, it's taken a lot of great people that shared this episode as well. Some are listening right now, but they're always sharing on their Instagram or their Facebook or their YouTube or their X, their Twitter, all of these things. We have some amazing people within our podcast community, and they've shared it, and they'll reach out to me on our text community, and I'll see the text come through hey, that internal quest episode really spoke to me. I've got a young son or daughter who's in college who wants to, be a trainer. Do you have interns available? I'll send them to Ryan. Ryan will then get in and, work with them on that. And some of them come out to San Diego and are interns here at FQ10 or, whatever it may be. So it's taken a lot of work, a lot of time, but I love it. I love podcasting.
Yeah.
Is that something that you are thinking of doing someday?
I mean, potentially. I like listening.
Yeah.
I would have to find a topic that I'm passionate about to do it.
What's your favorite podcast? Not beside the Impact Show.
I like Smartless.
Smartless.
Have you ever listened to it?
No, what is that?
It's with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes. So it's 3 comedians.
Those guys
and
are hilarious.
So funny. And they bring on a special guest each episode that they're either friends with.
Okay.
That's in the industry, and they kind of just joke around, ask some serious questions, but mostly just
okay. All right. Good. Ian, how about you?
This one's directed more towards you two as coaches, Ryan and Todd.
Okay.
Because coaching, people think about more so as sports driven or something, but you guys are could be dads or friends or you speak to athletes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we started. How do you approach coaching as a personal thing? How do you resonate and connect to people? You can master and understand all the topics, but when you talk to a human, how do you talk to them and touch them with the human heart to resonate? How do you
how do you connect
stick with them to keep it with them, not just as a coach?
Good question, Ian. Ryan, you want to start with that?
I think for me, it's all about that person in front of you. So getting to know them on more than just sets and reps basis, but what makes them tick, what brought them in. A lot of times, it may be something deeper than just fitness. I mean, it's always fitness tied in, but it may be, a client maybe getting bullied at school and they wanted to come in because they were getting made fun of for their weight, or, a grandpa or grandma comes in because they're left out of activities because they're not able to be mobile enough to go on a hike with their younger family members or play with the grandkids or whatever. So a lot of times it's just tying into what is a deeper why behind just, I want to be stronger or I want to look better, right? There's often something behind that first level of what they want out of fitness that can drive a deeper meaning and help power more of a long-term commitment to fitness. Because at the end of the day, exercise is one of the biggest levers we have to pull as far as health and longevity. And if we can tie someone in to that huge impact that the exercise can make, we can help them, hit that immediate goal that they may have, but also just form a lifelong connection to health and fitness.
Yeah.
So,
Ian, it's a great question, and I think it's the essence of what the fitness world is all about. It's connecting with another soul and finding out what makes them tick.
Yeah.
Like training someone from the inside out, not just the outside in. Because if someone comes in and they want to lose 10, 20, 50, 100 pounds, awesome goal. Great goal. Let's help them do that. But how do you really change someone? When you look at behavior modification, you change people from the inside out and you tap into their soul. I always have said for umpteen years is you imagine that you got like a tube 3 feet long from my belly button to your belly button. And when I'm training you, I ain't letting go of you. And I'm going to be connected to you. Every essence of my body and soul is going to be connected to you. And in today's day, you're looking around and you got to be dialed in.
Yeah.
People feel that. People feel that. If I'm with you right now in this conversation, they feel that versus even in a conversation. If you guys are out on a date, you're in a job interview someday. People feel you. I feel you or I don't feel you. Your clients feel you or they don't feel you. So when you can lean in and you can connect with someone and they know you got their back, you got their best interest, I think that connection is, I trust Ian. He said that don't eat sugar, you start eating this, don't drink this. I got to make sure that I don't let you down. Because as a coach, if you can set the expectation and the standard is the standard. Standard is the standard. Set the standard of high excellence and you can live up to that. I want to live up to that. How can you help lift people up? Right? Versus just listen to them and say, hey, to Ryan's point, hey, we got 3 sets of this and 15 of that. And okay, that's part of it, but a sliver of changing someone's life.
Yeah.
Good. What's another question you got, Ian?
Was that like kind of like sub question? Was that like something you guys discovered like early on in your coaching careers, or was that something that you had to like work towards? And like, was it like a snapping point where it was like, my coaching ways are not working or connecting as well as I want them to be, or was it like something that you always progressed like with your personality and kind of just transgressed into coaching?
I think for me, like coming here 20 something years ago, it was always about sets and reps. And I thought that if I gave the person the best possible workout, that would be the connection. And finding it's a lot more about human interaction than it ever is going to be about sets and reps. Even when a person is coming in for like an athlete that comes in that they want to perform at a higher level, at the end of the day, it's still about more than just the workout. And that was something that I learned, through my years here, that it's always going to come back to a relationship and a human connection instead of just merely do this number of times and sit your hips back or whatever the case may be.
I think early on it helped us be successful that we were very people-centric, right? As far as like understanding people, because I've always innately been that way as the youngest of 8 kids and recognizing the importance of working with people. I was never really just about the sets and the reps. Even with the highest level athletes, and Ryan remembers, way back in the day, 24 years ago, it was never just about the sets and the reps. It was about connecting with them and understanding them and pushing them and prodding them and motivating them to really push themselves to a deeper level, to a further level than they're capable. I've always been kind of wired that way. So I would say that you don't have to be wired that way. You can be in an environment and you can see if you're in an inspirational environment, you start feeling it, you start pushing people and challenging people. And that's one of the things that has made FQ10 and what makes IXP great is like you're around the right people, you're going to do better work. You're around the wrong people, lazy people, boring people, people who are partying, you're not going to do good work. Like bottom line, be around the right people. Good things happen. Next question.
So yeah, I like what you just said, how like the people you're around like influence you to becoming who you want to be and stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know who your biggest influences are, whether that's like on the football field, as a trainer, like in the gym, or even just motivational speaking.
Biggest influences are now or were?
Either from the past or...
I'll start with are now.
Yeah, okay.
Are now, my man, Pastor David Jeremiah. without question, he's one of my mentors. He's one of my great friends. I love training Pastor Jeremiah. He's 83 years young. The guy has more wisdom than anyone I know. Ryan, you know Pastor Jay, he's just someone that's a gift to this world. And I never, ever take for granted when I'm with him. Our relationship over a dozen years has really deepened in having the opportunity to train him. Every time I'm training him, I'm like, man, I should be paying him to train him, like with what he offers me. But at the same time, Pastor Jeremiah realizes the old iron sharpens iron adage, right? Proverbs 27:17 is who you're around, who you surround yourself with. Like, my job is to sharpen him. He sharpens me, but I sharpen him. Like, that hour, I got to put on my coaching hat, and I got to make sure I push him and challenge him. So he, without question, is one of the guys that I draw inspiration from, who challenges me on all levels of living, as a father, as a husband, as a man, as a coach, as a trainer, and he's got a lot of wisdom. So I'd say Pastor Jeremiah, without question, is someone who inspires me on a daily basis. I've shared on previous podcasts former folks who impacted me and mentors. I've always had mentors, from my father to Wayne Cotton, and Wayne's still someone I work closely with. Pastor Miles McPherson, who, as we record this, is getting ready to speak at my Montana retreat, flying to Montana. He's coming out and delivering both faith and fitness at the retreat. We're going to have, close to 100 people there. It's going to be awesome on that. And I'll just say people, the other one too, I don't want to forget her, is, comes to that. I was just on a coaching call earlier today. I'm going to mention my wife, Melanie, because I've been married for 23 years. And I was reminding this gentleman who I was coaching, who's a very successful person, very successful, did you ask your wife about your big decision that you got to make? He said, good point. I need to do that. I'm like, well, don't forget that, because you can have your own entrepreneurial mindset. You could be an athlete of the highest level. What does your better half think?
Yeah.
And it was like a light bulb moment of, sometimes as an entrepreneur, you're always thinking about, like, hey, how can I improve myself? Don't forget to include the people who are most special in your life. For me, Melanie is someone who knows everything that I'm doing and why. And I was coaching someone today on this exact topic of, have you invited your wife into this conversation yet? Because this is a really big decision that's going to impact the next, decades of your life. So good question on that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that was great.
Good. Okay. Nice. Larry?
So, as you say, probably people, more likely easy to, keep going, or, if you, see growth, every single day. But, at some point, you see, for example, you're in a football game, and then you have an injury at some point, and then it's hard to, even if you're trying to get better, but, you struggle with your, healing your body some reason. So how you, if you have a client, something like that, how you approach them?
That is injured?
Injured, yes. Injured or any
that,
kind
mental
of
barrier. That,
any kind of
stuff.
kind of
it's a good
difficulty you
question.
face them.
Yeah, that's good. By the way, you're doing great with your English.
Thank you.
You're doing great.
I'm working on that.
You're doing great. You're doing great, man. How long have you spoken English?
I don't know, been 5 years.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
So as far as clients and athletes, doesn't matter, client or athlete, as far as injury, as someone who understands pain and injury probably more than most, Ryan's laughing over here. he does too, so this is a good topic for us, right? Is someone who's had multiple 5 concussions and sprained every part of my body, 2 knee replacements, a back that most people don't want to see. I understand pain. I think God gave me that pain so that it could take me to an even deeper purpose, so I can understand pain. So people who are in pain, any kind of pain, physical pain, mental pain, all of these things, spiritual pain. I think the most important thing when someone is in pain, number one, is empathy is really important. Empathy, and when someone is in pain, you have to understand and show the compassion and empathy towards someone in pain. And the other thing, as a coach, I want to make sure that when someone I know is in pain or I'm working with is in pain, I give them hope. Because when you're in pain, and I know there's times when your hope is flickering. If you give up hope, you got nothing left. And that's all I'm like, keep the light on, keep the light on, keep the light on. Because man, when I was in back pain a couple years ago, it was some really, really dark times. But especially as a man, you don't want to tell people of your pain because that's where ego gets involved. And, I didn't want to become my pain. And everyone's like, how's your back? How's your back? How's your back? Well, as a coach, you got to detect, when someone's in pain. I always say the eyes are the windows to the soul. How can you look at someone and say, how are you doing, Larry? How you doing? The way I look at you and feel you is different than, hey, Larry, how you doing? Like a rhetorical, how you doing? So my question and thought back is, how are you, listeners, you guys doing in connecting with your people when you say, how you doing? And they're going, oh, doing good. Meanwhile, they're in a lot of pain. So to me, as a coach, as a trainer, as just, someone who understands pain is, how do you connect with people? How can you really feel their pain when you don't know what their pain is? Because they don't want to share their pain because people aren't out broadcasting their pain, like what's always hurting. So for me, those are some important things. You got to give people hope, and you got to make sure that you're empathetic. And hopefully as a coach, you have a Rolodex of people. If you can't help them directly, you can help people go down different routes to heal pain, because pain to me is a messenger. It's communicating something, or God's got a way to communicate, wants to communicate something to you. And sometimes it's a little bit longer than you want, but there's always a message behind that. So understanding that now, I believe that's why I was given the gift of that pain, so that I could go to another level in my own life. But you don't understand that when you're going through pain. Ryan, you want to add anything? Because I know as a coach, you've worked with a lot of people in pain. I know as someone who's been by your side in the trenches, and I'm wearing a back brace and you're hobbling around. And
We're all, yeah. The older we get, I think the more we can understand it. Like it's one thing to work with a client as a 20-year-old trainer, never having had, much injury or history along those lines. But the older we get, I've had 7 broken ribs, I've had 2 separated shoulders, I've had a broken heel, broken wrist, like all this stuff. And I still consider that a life well lived, but at the same time, definitely like working with that pain, it definitely allows you to have more empathy for people that are in pain. But then also, it's awesome that they're still here, putting effort into still getting better despite the pain. And I want to reward them and honor them for that commitment, because there are a lot of people that are in pain and doing nothing. But at the end of the day, you may still be in pain, but do you want to get better with that pain and maybe heal it, maybe not, but you can get better or you can get worse. But that pain may always be there. And so you got to make that decision. And I love the clients that are coming in and they're like, oh, I got a client right now. He just had shoulder surgery. He's like, yeah, as soon as I get back in there, I can do leg stuff. I'm like, yes, you can. Whereas some people are like, oh, I just had a major shoulder surgery. I'm going to sit on the couch for 2 months. Yeah. Like, no, don't do that. Do what you can. If you have a joint that works, come in. And I'm going to honor your commitment and work with you. And if you can't do lower body, do upper body. If you can't do upper body, do lower body. We'll maybe do some visualization if we can't do either one, right? So something to move the needle.
The quote that I love, I just wrote it down recently. It's the greater the pain, the greater the potential power. The greater the pain, the greater the potential power. And I heard that it was Pastor T.D. Jakes, the other T.D. T.D. Jakes said that. And I was like, oh, that's good. Because when we're going through pain, none of us want to be in pain. We all hate pain. Like, we got to get out of pain. But realizing that the greater the pain, the greater the potential power. How do you take your pain and transform it into purpose or into power? Because for me, heck, even after a 3.5-year window of deep pain, because physical pain affects your mindset, right? It gets in there. And that gets dangerous. So you're trying to break this pain spasm cycle that exists. But I love that quote. The greater the pain, the greater the potential power, right? That whole new levels, new devils thing. Like, man, it's good stuff. Great question, Larry. Max, back to you.
Yeah. How did you keep your mindset like sane when you were in those deep
I
dark
read this
times?
book. It's called Get Your Mind Right.
There you go.
You know what? It's funny. It's a great question because when I was going through that pain, I'm like, how is this happening to me? Because I was deemed, quote, the mindset guy or the mind right maniac. And I'm like, I'm everything but that right now. My mind is not right. Again, going through that and being a testament to what I had written, knowing what I had known at that point. How do I keep my mind right? Back to the basics. Back to the basics. Ryan just said it earlier on. There was a time for the first time in my life I couldn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't walk to the mailbox. I couldn't sit on a bench and hold 10-pound dumbbells. It hurt to sit. It hurt to hold weights. I couldn't sleep on my back, my left side, my stomach. I was in pain. Well, when you can't work out, you can't move. Your mind is affected massively. Yeah. So you fight for what can I do? I knew I could do some bear crawls for some reason. 5 yards up, 5 yards. I would do bear crawls for 10, 15 minutes. And just like take a breath, I'd be out of breath just to move to get my mind right. Right? And knowing when you're in pain, you know that I got to work out kindly, but you're like, screw it. No, I ain't going to work out.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got to fight for that. You got to have some, warriors in your circle, your small circle that are like checking in on you. And I had a couple of those. Pastor Jay was one. Drew was one. Pastor Miles another one. Like I had some dudes that were like checking in that knew what was going on. So how do you get your mind right? You fight. All the things literally that are in that book are things that I did because that's what I do. But now when I'm working with people who are in pain of any kind, it goes back to the basics. Like bring it all the way back to what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're not drinking, who you're training with, how are you training? Are you training? Are you sleeping or you're not sleeping? Like really basic stuff. Because if you're not doing the basics, it don't matter. Your mind ain't right. Also, last one, input versus output. This thing called the feed, your social media feed, it feeds you. It feeds you good or bad. If someone's mind's not right and it's feeding and all we're looking at is smut, porn, whatever's on here, like this thing's got us addicted. It's got us addicted to garbage because it's really smart. It's a drug. So how do you clean up your feed? Like what are you feeding your body? What are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your soul? The feed is really important because 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. That's a fact. Go into your head. Most of them are negative. Up to 80% are negative. We've got to fight for 20,000 positive thoughts a day. How are you doing that? And this thing is in our head all day. So how do you clean up your own feed? Eliminate certain people, things like that. Like this thing's smart. Turn the phone off when you're studying. When you got an important project, you turn it off. You don't have your phone around. I'm telling my daughter all the time, turn your phone off. Get out of your room. Study. Focus. Takes 12 to 16 minutes to refocus after you lose focus to do it. But we want this thing within 3 feet. I think it's like 90% of the time this thing is within 3 feet of our bodies or we sleep with it. We're worshiping the phone. We don't want to be worshiping the phone of all things because it's going to feed us not always the right stuff. So those are some of the ways. Good question.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
So like when you're in your dark times or you fail or you feel guilty about something, oftentimes in order to get out of that or at the end, when you reach that light at the end of the tunnel, you end up learning something new about yourself. Does that happen to you? Like what do you learn about yourself when you're faced with those challenging times?
Trial by fire.
You're a deep dude, Max. It's good.
Good question.
It's a good question. You know why I say that? I give you some nuts over here if you're just listening, is because every time you go through a trial, you learn something.
Yeah.
When you're going through it, you're like, I don't want to learn anything. I don't need to learn anything. Just get me through this trial. I'm always like, how can you salivate a little bit longer in the valley? Right? And none of us want to be in the valley, but how do you salivate in that area? What I say is this. When I'm in valleys, I journal a lot. I write a lot because it's my cathartic way to get things on paper, which actually, when you get through it, you look back, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was in a bad place.
Yeah.
And for me, like even my new book, True Strength, there's journal entries in there that if I had not journaled, I wouldn't have remembered how dark some of those times were. And I share them in the book, and I'm like, whoa. So for me, journaling has always been a form of that way to process it and get through it. So I would say journaling is one way on that, which gets you through to the next level. Good. Ryan, you have anything to add on that?
I think it's like, for me, a lot of it comes back to faith. Like, and I will add on one thing, like in the dark times, it's always a great learning experience if you are open to learning. Like, you don't necessarily always learn if your headspace is not like you're just frustrated and moaning about blah, 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 but there is always an opportunity to learn something. Like in a loss, it's only truly a loss if you haven't learned anything, right? The lesson. And then it comes back to faith. Like, I know that the God of the universe is in control and nothing is happening that is going to surprise him.
Yeah.
And so I just take faith in that I serve the God of the universe and just keep serving and it'll come around.
It's a good point. I was on a guest on a podcast recently and I was talking about that. What Ryan was just talking about is, and even for you young men and women listening in, old men and women listening in, it's about gratitude. Gratitude, because sometimes your gratitude, we forget things that we're really grateful for. Because I remember journaling in my notebook once, being stuck. Like, what am I grateful for? I'm in such pain. I don't know. It was like, I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my food. Like, such basic necessities that I'm like, man, like I had to really think hard about that. But when you can live in gratitude, gratitude is the antidote to fear. Fear, when you're in fear, affects your mindset and gets you thinking in the scarcity mindset. You never want to be living in a scarcity mindset. We naturally have scarcity mindsets, but you can't live in that space. You fight fear and scarcity with gratitude. How do you do that? You establish a practice for yourself where you're actually daily, ideally morning and evening, you're writing 3 to 5 things you're grateful for. It could be the same thing. Grateful for my wife or for my kids or for like basic things. If you can learn that at your young ages and you get consistent with it, you're not going to be 7 days a week. No. But if you can get consistent with it, it'll change everything. The opposite, the antidote to fear, anxiety, stress, gratitude. How do we live more often in gratitude? It'll change things. It'll change it.
That's the one with the best culture we have back home. Yeah.
Talk about it.
Always like respect others, like
Respect.
yeah. So like appreciate others, like anything, like even if you like easy to do, like pick up the trash, all kind of stuff. Yeah, that's on the best culture we have.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that, Larry.
So is that Shohei Ohtani does too. He's pick up the trash in the field like the micro. You don't even see it, but he just pick it up. Just small things like make it better. Yeah.
Ohtani does that.
Ohtani does. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Ian, how about you?
We kind of already covered it, but I kind of want to piggyback off of like what you were saying and what Ryan was saying on like what you two were asking. Was like along that same topic. Like you were just saying gratitude is the antidote of fear, and you were also saying like how like empathy is like the key thing. Is like, do you think that like you would be in this position if it were not for those like hardships or those like downfalls? Like do you think you would be here right now, being able to like have this mindset, be able to connect with people, talk to people, this like in this level without those like previous like trials to like bring you through?
Well, I wouldn't be exactly where I'm at right now, that's for sure. Because God would have had a different plan for me that he wanted that is in a different realm. So when you're going through trials and tribulations, sometimes you don't really know where you're going or what you're doing. You're just trying to get through a difficult time. So what I'd say is, no, I wouldn't be where I'm at, because now I look back in gratitude of like what I've been through. I would never choose what I went through for 3.5 years. The decisions I had to make, no one will ever know how hard it was to make those decisions. I don't want to go back there and make those decisions.
Yeah.
But I'm extremely grateful now, where I'm at now, knowing that God has a greater plan that only he knows the answers for, and that for me, knowing what's on the forefront of the vision, now that I'm healthy and can see and have my clarity back and feel really strong, like I can see what's going on. I can see that. But when you're going through it, you often don't see the forest amongst the trees, right? So, no, I wouldn't be where I'm at today regardless, but isn't that what life's about? I remind myself that this journey we're on, there's ups and downs. There's ups and downs. I start True Strength, the book, with Pastor Jeremiah's quote. The crest of the wave determines the depth of the valley. The depth of the valley determines the crest of the wave. The higher the mountaintop, the deeper the valley could be. The deeper the valley, the rebound effect could be how high you can go. So if you're in a valley today and you're listening in, or when you go through valleys, fellas, someday, you realize you just got to keep the light on. You got to keep going. You don't give up. You call Ryan, you call me, you call a loved one who understands, like, man, you don't even know how bad it is. Like, you think no one else knows how bad it is. There are people who have been through some hell and back.
So when you're confronted with that tribulation now, like you wouldn't choose it, but when you're approached with it now, do you like almost invite it? Because like Albert Camus would always say, like, embrace the distress. You gotta imagine Sisyphus like happy. Like, you just like embrace it. You invite it. Like, do you invite like the tribulations now and trial? Like, do you live like do you? Like,
I don't invite it because I don't want it. I don't invite it. Right? But what I will say is this: when it's there, I try to shift my mindset into speaking to it. Like, I would literally speak with my pain and I would actually say, what are you trying to teach me?
Okay.
Talk to me like, what can I learn from you? Because I'm going to let you be here for a little bit, but sooner or later you're leaving. Like, I would literally have that conversation in private of that. Now, I don't invite pain in so I can learn, but we all know as human beings, things are going to happen. And it might not happen to you. It might be a family member, a teammate, or a colleague. Something happens and you're scratching your head. And Ryan knows we lost some people here over the years that to this day, like, I scratch my head and think about, I think about that.
Yeah.
Why? We don't know, but, Ryan, anything to think about there?
Yeah, I think it's tough to, you never ask for tribulation, but I think it's an interesting, part of who we are as humans, that sometimes the pain is a better teacher than the success, right? You're riding the crest of the wave. You're just kind of living life, taking it as it comes. Pain kind of stops you in your tracks and it gets you to take a deeper look at stuff. And even like, I've got a guy right now that has stage 4 prostate cancer. He has a limited amount of time. His doctors are telling him, you've got maybe a year, maybe a little more. And so just like, he's on my prayer list every morning. I serve a God who does miracles. Now, is he going to do that miracle in his life? I don't know. I'm praying for it, and I'll continue to pray for it till that miracle happens or until he passes away. But like, even holding that in mind is like Todd saying, like why are some people healed, or why do some people get cancer and some don't? All those things, like, I'll never know this side of heaven, but you still got to just meet people where they're at, learn and grow from those tough times. And again, not that you're inviting it in, but definitely like learning the lesson. Like, I'll talk to God and say, like, if something keeps happening in my life that I'm running up against the roadblock, I'm like, Lord, help me to learn the lesson this time, because I didn't learn it the last 3 times. And here it is again, the 4th time. I need to learn this lesson so I can move on, right? But
I used to love looking at your WLAGs, and you have always, every week I'm responding to like,
oh yeah, parent trials and tribulations.
Oh, man.
I've got a 15-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter that are full of lessons for me.
I love it. I want to shift for a second. I want to shift the attention over to you guys. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
All right, and then we'll wrap it on up. But my question is, what's the greatest thing that you learned in your internship program here?
I mean, probably like the main thing that I will carry with myself is kind of like what you guys were defining as a coach. Like it doesn't just mean like sets and reps. Like somebody isn't just going to come to me just for coaching in the weight room. Like it could be coaching as a father, it could be coaching as a friend, coaching as a son, whatever it may be. Like just those things that you guys taught me to like not just like see the objective, like how can you get to the objective and like resolve, like provide a solution. Don't just like feed the fire and like in all aspects. Not
and Ian, just share with our listeners, say what year you're at and where you're at in school. What year are you in school?
I'm in my 4th year at SDSU as an undergrad with a bachelor's in kinesiology.
So you're looking for a job?
I can be, yeah.
You can be, or you are?
Well, I go to grad school.
Now's your opportunity. You got some people listening in.
Yeah, I'm looking for a job.
Okay, very good, very good. You got all the years coming up. Like, yes, I'm looking for a job. You can still go to grad school. Very good, very good, good. Trying to help you out. Here we go, Max.
Maybe they'll pay for grad school.
Okay, you know what? Yeah.
There we go. There we go. Max.
I'll plug myself too. My name is Max Jackson. I'm graduating from San Diego State with a bachelor's in kinesiology. Wanting to be a personal trainer, so if anyone is looking for a personal trainer.
Where are you from originally, Max?
I'm from Santa Fe, California, so up in the Bay Area.
Yep.
Beautiful. And then 2 years at Santa Barbara City College, transferred to San Diego State.
Good. And greatest lesson that you've learned so far in your internship?
Yeah, so I'm very thankful for all you guys for having us for these 8 weeks. I know it was short. Got a lot done, though. So I think the number one takeaway that I had was that just like I knew I wanted to be a personal trainer coming into this. And I think just being here, seeing the environment, seeing the impact that all these trainers have on the members and clients kind of just enforced into my brain that like this is really what I want to do. And like kind of just now I know like for certain. So
good.
That was cool to see.
Nice job. How about you, Larry?
Well, I have to finish my 540 hours internship program. So
how many hours?
540 hours.
540 hours.
Yep.
He's going to be here a long time. These guys are done.
Yeah.
He's halfway.
Wow.
Larry's just getting started.
540. Okay, keep going.
So, but since then, since I started an internship here, and then I hop in like 5 a.m. grind or like pretty much like every day. But like since then, like I love here, like connecting people in this great way, and then having a passion with that. Like even like pushing the clients like to like work hard, but they just put together and then pushing hard each other, like very supportive too.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to be like coaching stuff too. So it's basically like don't waste the opportunity to like, and then time to like get to know people and then learn something always. Yeah, that's my challenge too. And then also love to hear too.
Well, you're doing a great job, Larry.
Thanks.
Doing a great job. In a minute, you're going to have a final question. Any question you want to ask Ryan or myself, you'll have that chance to ask a final question. Before we do that, know this, and I'll share this with any coach or trainer, whether coming out of school or not, is it's all about the energy that you bring to a session. There's going to be times that you always have things going on in your life, and there's distractions. But when you show up for a session, nothing else matters but that one person, that one class. And how you take your energy and you put it into somebody, you put it into someone, you put it into somebody, they feel that. They feel that energy, and they feel your love, and they feel everything that your gifts are, Max and Ian and Larry. They feel that who you are. And that's something that is unique to each of us when we show up to a session of like, the more you work on yourself and the greater you become as a person, as a man, then the more you can help someone else. I always say the more you grow, the further you can go, right? So know this, when you get a job and you start working with people, whether you're being paid or you're not paid, as you go up through the ladder here, is that you are 100% focused on your client and you give everything you got in every session. Whether that's 1 hour a day or it's 12 hours a day, right? That you're given because the universal law will come back and serve you and help you, and you'll be fulfilled. If you're in this for the right reason, you'll be fulfilled because, man, like you're serving your life's purpose. And that's what we want. So if there's any wisdom that I can provide for you, this is a really exciting time in your life. You're trying to figure out what niche within this industry should I go, right? Do I want to teach group? Do I want to teach one-on-one? Do I want to teach athletes? Do I like working with seniors? I like working with everyone. I like working with kids. Like, now is the time to figure that out. I would say work with as many people as you possibly can, get as much experience as you possibly can early on. And, through your journey of training and coaching, then it'll all work out. I was telling Ryan, we're blessed at Fitness Quest 10, always have been with our internship program. I know we got one launching at IXP, and there's other folks in my mastermind program that have internship programs, and we'll be hiring coaches too. So I want to say thank you guys for everything that you have done and are doing for Fitness Quest 10 also. Final questions. Last one, we'll go around. Larry, you're up first.
So, like, as you've been saying, like, don't forget the gratitude, like, don't waste the opportunities, like, to get to know the people. But what makes you push and keep going?
Me personally?
Yes.
What makes me push and keep going?
Yeah.
For me, that's a pretty simple answer. It's God's designed me and wired me in a way that I know my mission. And then my mission grew through 3.5 years of hell. I used to want to impact 10 million people. And in 24 years, we've impacted a lot of people. But in that time, it's grown to 100 million people. I don't know how I'm going to reach 100 million people. I don't know if we'll ever reach 100 million people. But I know my mission is to positively impact the body, minds, and souls of everyone that listens to this podcast, that trains at Fitness Quest 10, that trains at Impact X Performance, that trains at one of my mastermind members, because I influence our mastermind members, or I coach them and they coach hundreds. So for me, what keeps me going is the idea that if I can have a little fingerprint on you, Larry, and you take that back to Japan and you become someone who impacts 100,000 people in your lifetime, then you're part of the lineage. Then you're part of that, right? And to me, that's what keeps me going is 100 million people, 100 million. Don't know how that's going to be. That's why I'm always asking the podcast, please share this episode. The more people who get good messages and hear wisdom from whoever our guests are, they can grow that. For me, it's the mission. That's my mission, and that's a divine mission. Thank you. Max?
So this one's for both you, Todd, and you, Ryan.
Yep.
But as someone who's just starting out, like, in the personal training industry, what's the best thing that I should know going into it as far as advice? Like, you kind of mentioned, like, bringing your energy, maintaining that so that the clients see you, but, like, in terms of, like, marketing myself.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I think just be authentically yourself. Like, I think sometimes we see, like, I know, like, when we used to do the 3.5-day mentorship, Todd would always tell guys, like, don't be me. Like, be you. Just turn the volume up a little bit, right? And so, like, people want to connect with you, and you're a great person. The more you can be yourself, helping and coaching other people to be the best versions of themselves. That's what I would suggest.
I would say yes more often. Say yes more often. It still baffles me when someone says, I don't want to train. I only have one session a day. Yep, you are. Maybe none. Show up.
Yeah.
Say yes, I want that one person. Because the one person becomes two becomes four becomes eight. But limited people think, I ain't showing up and driving up there for one session. I'd be like, I used to show up for 3 years for one stud club with Ken Sawyer and Zapisic and these guys for years. One session. That one session turned into FQ10. FQ10 turned into thousands of people and all the other stuff. Like, say yes more often. Your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. So that one person becomes part of your network. You work your network. You say yes, you show up to different philanthropic things on Saturday morning. Oh, I can't go out Friday night. Then they'll go out Friday night. Like, then they'll don't. Like, man, I don't care if you're 20, if you're 50, or you're 83. Like, you gotta keep showing up. You gotta keep showing up. And the more you show up, I'm like, man, Max is everywhere. Larry's everywhere. Ian's everywhere. Like, and you're around the right network. Guess what? When you're in the right network, opportunities just happen.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know how it happened. Because you're in the right network. You always hear me say, be in the room, live in the room, not online. Be in the room. Watch what happens. All about the network. Say yes more often. Ian.
This one goes out to you two, Todd and Ryan. This is kind of, we were already kind of talking about it, but it's more so just like your ego, more so like you guys work with like really, really athletic people and high-end people, but then you also work with like children and like athletic clubs. Like starting off, like when you were working with like big athletes and names, like how did you keep like your ego and like in check, and like how did you stay humble and like carry yourself so that you weren't like disregarding, not like the average person, but like so there's like a mom or dad who wanted to come in to get the same help as like the quarterback of some team. Like how do you transgress the same like progress to them, and like without being like, oh, I don't need to train this person, like I'm training $1 million athletes, like they're not like worth my time or something. Like how do you carry yourself to kind of like touch all these people in the same way, and treat them the same?
Ryan, you want to start? You want me to start?
I can kick it off here. I think for like it's awesome to train anyone, because anyone comes in. You know, you got the high level athletes that are like super fun in their own right, but then like each person is unique and an individual, and if you can discover what makes that person unique and individual, it's just a lot of fun getting to know, you know, the youth athlete and the grandma and all this stuff. Like some of our professional athletes are awesome at that sport that they've chosen, but some of our grandpas and grandmas, like if they had a professional league for like grandpas and grandmas, they're awesome at what they do, and you can learn so much from them. And then even these young athletes that just have a lot of, you know, just exuberance and energy, like we can learn something from them as well. So picking from each, I think, helps to, you know, avoid the like, you know, this client or athlete is beneath me. Is like everyone is unique, and they all bring these unique things to the table that is fun to discover working with a variety of different clients.
I wish you could see the first 3 years of Fitness Quest 10, because there were no athletes.
Yeah.
There was just the everyday person that most people, 98% of our population, that's what we train, right? And then we had the good fortune of starting to get a couple athletes. And then my first athlete, LaDainian Tomlinson, who's a running back for the then San Diego Chargers, he came in, and he was right after I'd have Daryl and Carla Wenhart, and then I'd have LaDainian, and then I'd have Donna Dickinson, and I had the Peases. Like, and people were asking, like, hey, are you going to start an athlete-only performance facility? Now, this was year 2003, 4, 5, 6. And they're asking me, well, are you going to separate the athletes from the normal people? Like, no. Why would I do that? Like, well, because they're athletes. I'm like, who cares? They're training for the same thing.
Yeah.
Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, they want the same thing. They want their best performance. They want to be as healthy and fit as possible. LaDainian, or he brought in Breezy and Sprolsey. Like, those guys want to be the best in the world what they do. But so do Kathy and Carter Peace. Like, they want that, or the Wenharts, or, you know, the Dickinses. They want, it's no different. So I was like, no, it's the same thing. We're training to be the best, not because of athletic ability, but because of what's inside of you. And I'm going to pull that out of you, and I'm going to help you at all hours of the day to do that. So for me, it doesn't matter who you're working with. It's how do you tap into that person. And that's how, I mean, that's why we've had some people here for 24 years. Like, coming back. Not because, like, we tell them how many sets and reps to do, right? It's because we're constantly pouring into them. You know, here at FQ10, I talk to Ryan and Jeff Bristol and the team about this all the time. I tell my business partner Travis says about IXP, like, I don't care if there's 500 IXPs or there's 50, but man, all the masterminder gyms, like, man, pour into your people. Pour into people. It's not about the titles. It's not about they're an athlete or a non-athlete or they're a kid. Like, pour into them, and they'll feel you. And watch what happens.
It's awesome.
Answer your question?
Oh, yeah.
Any final questions? Got it all out?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Last chance.
Can I ask you one?
Ryan's got it. Last question. I'm nervous now.
Last question.
In 50 minutes, I'm nervous now.
Give me your, and I mean, it's been a lot of years here, but your top 2 or 3 favorite memories from all of your time here, if you can. Like, what stands out to you?
And not this podcast.
It's a good question, Ryan. Starting when there was nothing. When it was carpet, refurbished equipment.
Yeah.
It's simple. And just training people. No mirrors, just simple. Like, that was a really special time. Like, just mano a mano, training people. Like, that was special. Going from massage therapy to training to massage therapy, like a table and some equipment, right? Like, that was special. That's the stuff that no one would see. Probably the most special. Obviously, there's been some other special moments, you know, with Amy winning the MVP, Drew winning the Super Bowl. Those are special times, and sharing that with our community, special. The whole time during Strong, 15, 16, with the show, the TV show Strong, like, it was special because the community, like, I felt like I was able to represent our community, of like how I wanted to represent our community and bring that out. Like, I was really proud of our community and how they showed up on that. I mean, those are some of the special times. There's so many of that, and it's probably worth another episode of some of those things, right? But you got me all emotional just because it's kind of like the Jersey Boys, you know? They have that song, like, one of the best time they talk about when it was just 4 guys standing on a street lamp and making tunes. And like, when it was you and Clicka, you know, and just we're just having fun, figuring things out, right? Like, man, it was just about training and changing lives. And that's one of the reasons why, like, right now, I really love almost some of the things I'm doing with IXP is because it's starting. You know, like, it's starting, like, you got this creation of what can be. But many times we lose that in the beginning because we're so stressed about what you have to do that you can lose sight of the beauty of the beginning. Like, what it's like to start. I look at that, I can see the brown carpet. I can see that old Quinton treadmill. Like, I can still see it in my head. Like, that was 24 years ago, and how, like, man, I had to rack up credit cards and everything else. I had no money, but man, was it beautiful. Like, to me, that was probably the most special times, like those moments. But those are the moments that create the Super Bowls and the MVPs and all the other stuff that we've been able to do, right? Trips. We've had trips that, you know, all over the place, and Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii.
Fitness. Showing up and, oh my God, we better not go. We got to end this podcast. So
boot camps on the 6 a.m. where they're screaming at us from the windows.
Yeah. Well, hey, fellas, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys being here
awesome.
On that. Ryan, I love you, brother. And that's a wrap. Thank you.
Sweet. Thank you.
Wow, oh wow, was that a lot of fun or what? I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Man, having 4 guests on the Impact Show, that may be a record, but sure, that was a lot of fun having our Director of Internship Programs at Fitness Quest 10, Ryan Rogers, on with Larry, Max, and Ian. And man, it went a little deeper than I thought, and I didn't think it would get so emotional there when Ryan asked me about some of my favorite memories of all time at Fitness Quest 10. But it's always good to go deep on the Impact Show. And I want to say thank you for joining us as always. I appreciate your time, your ears, your heart, and your soul. And if I can serve you in any way, please reach out. to me and to our team, you can do that on our text community. Yes, we have a text community, and I see each and every one of your texts. So please, all you have to do is text me my cell phone number. It's 619-304-2216. 619-304-2216. That is my cell phone number. If you text me, I will get back to you. I appreciate you always sharing the show with your community, your tribe, your social media followers as well. So if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure you share that. Tag me on Instagram or any social media platform that you use. And hey, if you are an intern or you're looking for an internship, or your son or your daughter may be looking for an internship someday, I've got two options for you. You can either A, come to Fitness Quest 10, and I'll connect you with Ryan Rogers, and we're always looking for great people here in San Diego, or obviously with Impact X Performance, my new baby, the coaching and fitness franchise all across the country. We have an internship program there as well. Just simply reach out to me and I'll connect you with Travis Barnes, and we'll get you set up with an internship program at IXP as well. So without further ado, keep up the great work. Have an incredible week. Until next time, remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, and go create impact.